Hello. This video was supposed to be about me drawing, but after a very failed attempt at drawing Bonnie Tyler, I thought maybe not this time, maybe the next video. Other thing that I like to do when I'm not ruining drawings is making posters, and I use a lot of typography. So I thought, let's discuss those. Let's discuss all the fonts that I use. Another thing to note is I am broke and unemployed, which means I cannot afford to pay for fonts. So good thing for you, all of the fonts that I'm going to show here are going to be free, that you can download and use however you like. I will try to put the link to these fonts down below, but please remember, because I'm not monetized yet, which you can change by subscribing, because I'm not monetized yet, sometimes YouTube just does not allow me to post links outside of my socials. So in case there are no links, I apologize. I will try to put them in the pinned comment. And I know what you're thinking, these are technically not called fonts, these are called typefaces. Yes, but I wanted to make my title very cool sounding. Fantastic fonts and where to find them sounds so much cooler than fantastic typefaces and where to find them. If I use the words interchangeably, please know they mean the same thing. The suggestions of fonts that I'm going to make very much depend on what kind of work I do. So I make posters for hobby, and I make like really in-your-face brutalism retro style posters. So most of these fonts will be big, blocky, squarish with like harsh angles and stuff, but there are two fonts which are a bit softer, more angular. So if you also work with big in-your-face typefaces, maybe you'll find some of these helpful. And without further ado, let's get right in with our first font, which is Coolvertica. Now, Coolvertica is available on DaFont. It's like Helvetica, except it's cool. In what way, I'm not really sure, but it's free to use, and that's what matters to me. Like Helvetica, I tend to use it in very minimalistic designs with a lot of typography, or like one big heading and few subheading type situation. Another way that I've really used this is in making sci-fi posters. The way I supplement this text is by adding a lot of glow, a lot of diffused glow, a lot of soft shadows, so that it just pops better. Next up we have Egyptian, which I believe is just the French version of Egyptian. This is available for download from xcicero.com. I use it for short words, for acronyms, and it's just a really in-your-face font. Fun fact, if you make YouTube videos, you can also use Egyptian in your thumbnails, and they are actually quite visible even in small mobile devices or whatever. It just catches your eyes really easily. Next up is I don't know how to pronounce this, Beyond de Gers. Let's just call it Beyond. Beyond, this is also another font from the same foundry. As you can see, the top and the bottom of some of the straight characters, they have this sort of blocky, what do I call it, the serifs. Reminds me of like old movie posters type fonts. You don't always have to stretch these out. For example, here I use it without stretching the tips, and it just fits because it is very angular. There are no soft corners, and that's quite helpful in maintaining the integrity of the text. Next up, surprise surprise, another blocky font, Bocalupo. I really like this. This is probably one of my favorite fonts to use. I use it as a subheading, but also to frame my main element, like here, line of text here, which says probably my favorite character, written in probably my favorite typeface. That is sort of the idea. Everything just lies in a straight line, and it creates this sort of rectangular shape that can be used to frame your elements. Next up is Stampact, and this is one of those fonts that I keep just for aesthetic purposes. Because I make a lot of retro work, I also make a lot of horror posters. This gives that sort of Goosebumps book title cover-ish vibes. It has a very worn out, distorted look, which goes well with like if you're using elements from, I don't know what fucking century this is. If you're using elements from like olden times, 80s, 90s, even older, 1400s, 1500s. This works really well. Like, well, if you feel like I am not giving out much info about these fonts, I'm sorry. I just mostly choose my fonts based on their aesthetic rather than functionality. Next up we have Forda, and Forda is also like Kulvertica, except it has like very weird cuts in its text. It's also a fully uppercase text, so these cuts, they make really nice angles or circles, whatever you want to call them, and I think it looks really nice. How I like to use this font is like as small labeling fonts scattered throughout the poster. They also work really well with diffused glow, drop shadow, all of those good stuff that Kulvertica benefits from. Like, as you can see here, it also works great with like password type designs, like her name, for example. If you were writing things like numbers or maybe Elon Musk's son's name, whatever that was, X3 something. This is where this font shines. And finally, another not so blocky font is Bonbons. This is also from the same foundry as Beyond Diger, Egyptian, Bucalpo. I use it mostly for titles. It also works quite well when stretched. To be honest, I use this font when I'm like tired of my other big bulky fonts like Egyptian, for example. So this is not like one of my go-to fonts. There are certain designs which can really use this kind of aesthetic, like retro designs, especially for cute characters, I think. And there you have it, the 7 most used fonts in my library. Apart from these, there are also like just default fonts that I really like. I really like the Baskerville face for some reason. People like Times New Roman, Arial. I just like Baskerville. I also had this poster or whatever this is that I made a few months ago. Some of my favorite fonts. Yeah, this one does have Baskerville. But other than that, yeah, that was it for my most used fonts. Some of my favorite fonts. If you feel like I just spoke too much without saying anything, that's probably because I choose my fonts for their aesthetic rather than sweating around about other stuff. Hopefully you find some of these fonts helpful and you can go use them for yourself. Hopefully the next video I will actually draw something, and I will see you then. Bye bye.